Again! Again!
So why do I live in my car full time? Well, because rent is $1,800 per month.
Rent in 2025 is an absolute nightmare. And if you've tried to find a place to live recently, you already know exactly what I mean. Every single year, rent keeps going up, and not just by a little. Landlords in apartment complexes are raising prices by hundreds of dollars, squeezing tenants who pay on time, while at the same time offering massive discounts to new renters just to fill their empty units in their complex. It's a complete joke, and it punishes the people who actually stay loyal, who pay their rent on time and renew their lease. In this video, I'm breaking down just how insane rent costs have become in 2025, why it feels impossible to get ahead, and how to figure out what percentage of your income you should be spending on rent. I'll also cover the pros and cons of homeownership, because some people buying may actually make more sense than throwing money away on an apartment that only gets more expensive every single year. Now, if you've ever felt trapped by rising rent, or like you'll never be able to save because your landlord eats your paycheck before you even see it, then this video is for you. Now, I'm asking you for help. Let me know how much you pay for rent and where you live down in the comments section below. I'm sure we'd all love to know what the going rates are. Otherwise, let's get right into today's episode.
I seen a creator on here talking about people need to stop moving and bouncing around. That's why the rent high. Just renew your lease, like all this other stuff. But let me give you the perspective of a mover, right? I've had 5 apartments in the last 5 years. Let me tell you why. In one of my apartments, my lease was up. They sent me a renewal offer. They said your rent's going up $150.
Yep.
I said, why? Nothing has changed in this place. If anything, it should go down. Like all the damages I've caused in here and my kid. So, but it's going up. They said, yeah, you know, the market, blah, blah. The market. Okay. Do my research. I pull up the website. There's a unit next door available. Same layout, same floor plan, same style. And there's no new renovations. $200 cheaper than what I'm paying currently. Not the new rent. That would have been $350 cheaper. What I have now, it was $200 cheaper than that. But what's the catch? It's for new tenants. New business.
Yep.
Okay. So I try to call them, try to figure this out. Hey, bro, by the way, can I just move in that one? Because I'm going to just move in there. It's $200 cheaper, same floor plan, same everything. We good, right? No, you actually have to pay a $500 transfer fee just to move units. And then on top of that, you don't get that new price, that new rent. That's only for new tenants. Since you're an existing tenant, it would just be the same rent as your other place. Make it make sense. So then I said, you know what? Screw it. We gone. 60 days. Here you go. We out. I checked the apartment website. What do you know? The unit that I'm moving out of is now $200 cheaper for a new tenant.
Unreal.
You see how that works? It's not us. Nope. It's the apartment complexes. It's the scam that they have going on. But this is the best part. When you pull up a new complex, they will have newer renovations, and they'll give you 2 months free just because you're a new tenant moving in. And your rent is going to be cheaper than the last place you stayed at.
Sure is.
So while moving costs and all of that sucks, for sure, I hate doing that. In the long run,
it's worth it.
I have a cheaper place, a nicer place, and 2 months free.
Yep.
So that is why I move around. It's not our fault at all. It's the apartment's fault. It's the apartment industry.
Where do I even begin? Currently going through the same thing that he is pretty much right now, but I've also been going through it for the past several years. I guess I would be considered a mover too, because ever since I moved to Florida into an apartment complex, the same exact thing has been happening to me every single year. First year up for renewal, rent for a 1-bed, 1-bath, 1.5 bath went from $1,850 to $2,050. Whatever that is, they wanted to increase it $200 a month. I thought that was insane because I go on their website and I look online and they're renting out apartments at the same price. I'm like, why would I stay here if I can go to the next one and get one cheaper? Again, it makes no sense. And to give you an even better example, as of, I think a couple of years ago into my current apartment, now we're starting to see rent kind of stabilize a tiny bit where I was able to negotiate and get my rent to be the same, not see an additional 5% raise, another $150. But they played this game all the freaking time. My rent's up. This was last year. I'm looking at it. This is 2 years ago. 2 years ago. The current rent, let's say, is $2,000. They say, oh, we're going to increase it by $200 more a month. I go, are you out of your mind? I do some research. I look at other apartment complexes. I looked at the apartment adjacent to me, conjoined, attached to me. It was selling for $200 less, $300 less per month than what I currently pay in mine. Not to mention they're offering 6 weeks free rent, 1 month free rent, 2 months free rent. That's what we're currently at right now. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yet then, yeah, they throw in a $700 transfer fee if I want to move. Or if you do it as a new tenant, then you have to pay an $800, new application fee, and then to secretary review fee, all this baloney. I don't want to curse on here, just to get you to move. It is unbelievable. It is such a game, and this is why with being frugal and saving money and all the stuff that we talk about, not being a consumer and being a minimalist actually works to your benefit. I have moved in this apartment 3 times of the 4 years that I've been here. The only reason I didn't move this year is because they agreed to keep my rent the same, but I was ready and willing to do so. And the past couple of years, every single time, we actually managed to get the discounts and get the cheaper rent, and we saved thousands of dollars a year because of it. Anyways, I wanted to read a couple of the comments that people had left on that TikTok. Renting is like insurance. They'll try to milk you dry till you complain or go somewhere else. That's pretty much it. The crazy part is, with the amount of complexes that are being built here in Florida, if I really wanted to play the game or I live by myself, whatever the reason is, bouncing around to different apartment complexes every year would save you so much money, and you would get so many incentives, so many months of free rent and new apartments, but you have to be willing and ready to move and hop around. And you have to do so in a way that is inexpensive to moving, not hiring a mover company. Instead go rent a U-Haul for $20 and do it over the course of like 3 days, and you'll save a lot of money, especially if it's close by. I work in leasing, and I keep trying to tell them that raising people's rents makes people move out, and they lose more money by having it sit vacant for several plus months, and they don't listen. That's the ironic thing that I didn't even touch upon yet, is it's so true. Because they would rather raise, my neighbors' rents, piss them off so much, and then they leave. And the money that they lose for these several months that the apartment sits is more than what it would be had they just left the rent alone for that other person. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. It's getting to the point where people just are giving up on the idea that they'll ever own a home, that they're turning their apartment complexes into houses. I think I have officially seen it all. I have officially seen it all. She had chickens on her balcony 12 stories up and somehow is getting away with it. That can't be in America. Is this legal? That's the comment.
The more and more time go by, paying $2,000-$3,000 a month to live somewhere for 30 days don't sound good to me.
Yeah.
$3,000 a month for 30 days. Ain't that $100 a day? That's a hotel. Y'all scared me. Good night.
All right, well, a couple of things. Who in their right mind is paying $3,000 a month and is affording that by themselves? I guess some families are. Some families are. And I don't remember the last time I have seen a $100 hotel. Granted, I don't do that much hotel staying, but it was probably several years ago at a DoubleTree, with the warm cookies, where I got a hotel room for like less than $100. But right now, Like the bare minimum, even in some crazy places. I don't know. Unless you're talking like a Super 8 or like a Motel 6, something like that. A fairly comfortable hotel that you want to sleep, under the sheets and not feel like you're getting bed bugs is at least like $140, $150 minimum. That I have noticed. Maybe $120 if we're really squeezing it here. But he's got a big point. When you put it into perspective, it does cost a lot of money every single day to keep this roof over your head. And that's why if you are on the road, if your goal is to achieve financial freedom, if your goal is to have lots of money, you have to reduce your overall monthly expenses. And the biggest, most challenging, and hardest one is shelter, is putting a house or putting a roof over your head. And if you can find a way to reduce that one, you free up so much of your income. You'll have so much more, financial freedom. That is something I'm still currently working on. And I do have a plan to do so, which we're going to talk about later on in today's episode. But renting is not like my forever plan. There are definitely pros to renting. I'm having these conversations with my friends right now because we're getting to the age where friends are just jumping into houses, and it could be a very bad mistake or it could be a very good one depending on how you go around doing it. But I'm going to save that for later on in today's episode. I'm steadily trying to figure out a new plan because this whole system is a scam. Breakfast is not included. At least when you pay $100 a day to stay in a hotel, you get breakfast for free. But when you rent, you don't get anything. You get squat. You don't get breakfast. You don't even get furniture. At least in a hotel you do. Oh, and in hotels, you have no utilities and housekeeping. It's honestly getting to the point where I'd even consider, wow, you could probably live out of a hotel. The thing is, if you live there for a very long period of time, they actually give you like employee rates. They give you discounted rates. I had a friend several years ago that lives out of a hotel or lived out of a hotel. Don't know where he is now, but he was getting employee rates. I think a hotel was like $80 a night for him, which if you think about it, I don't even know what that comes out to per month. It might actually be a lot. Let's see. $80 times, let's say 31 days in a month. Yeah, that's too expensive. $2,500 doesn't make sense. At $3,000 a month, it does, but I don't know where you're paying that. The going rate for like a studio, at least where I live, is like $1,600. So
Again! Again!
it's so cookie cutter. Yeah, that is exactly what Florida looks like. It actually looked like he was driving by my block because that's what everything looks like here. I like Florida. Florida has a lot of pros and cons, but it's becoming the Wild West for builders and people. They get free range to do whatever they want, and put things so freaking close to each other and as high as they want to go. It's truly, it is insane here, but it also says, hey, there's so much going on. There's so many places now to live in that it's getting pretty competitive, where places are offering 2+ months for free and other discounts. You could very easily hop between apartments if you're, an anti-consumer minimalist, and you could probably do pretty well if you're comfortable with bouncing around. I'll be honest with you. Florida feels like you're driving on the Monopoly board. LMFAO, that is hysterical. That's a big reason why I'm leaving Florida, because that's all it is. It really does feel like you're living and driving around on a Monopoly board, and I'm over it. I really am. We could go way in depth as to my main reasons why I don't want to, and I can. If you guys have questions, we can talk about it in the comments below, but I'm sick of it. That'll be $1,800 for a 1-bed, 1-bath. No, that's so true. That is, for a 1-bed, 1-bath, it's about $1,800, maybe $1,700. And again, they always screw you because what they advertise is not what you're actually going to pay. You're going to get the base rate of $1,700. That's what they do here. And then they're going to tack on about $140 worth of ridiculous fees. $7 pest control, $25, $30 liability damage waiver, $30 trash removal pickup service, then an additional $15, apartment complex trash removal. So you're paying for somebody to take your garbage to the trash can, and then you're paying someone to take the trash can to the dump. And the fees go on and on. Insurance waiver, liability waiver, your water bill, your utility bill, your water recycling bill, your sewage water bill. I'm telling you, the spreadsheet of additional fees you get at a bare minimum just to keep the lights on is like another $150 on top of what you're paying. With a Publix down the street. That's Florida.
Can somebody tell me if I'm tripping? Like, $2,500 for a 1-bedroom, 730 square feet. $3,190.
Oh my gosh.
So $3,190 for 830 square feet. And then you keep scrolling. Hold on. Where's another one? Down here.
$4,000.
$5,000 for 950 square feet. Now, 950 square feet, that's a lot. But $5,000 in Atlanta.
There you go.
Like, 4 bands?
There you
Am I
go.
tripping? Like, is this not insane?
It is insane, but again, location. If you're going to go to a place that's poppin', that's hot, where the price, the cost of living is more expensive, of course that's going to be more expensive. Now there are trade-offs because I have friends that live in New York City. They pay for a 1-bed over $3,000 a month. However, it kind of evens out. They get paid more. Their maybe starting salary was $100,000 in business, banking, and finance. And they also don't have a car, which means no maintenance, no gas, no car insurance, no car payment. I mean, you subtract all of that, it just then gets moved over to your rent. You're paying more for rent. So it's so location-based, and there are so many trade-offs. To be honest, when you don't have all those car things and problems because you walk everywhere in New York City, but your rent's higher, that might legit be the same as what I pay or somebody in like Wyoming pays $1,000 a month, but they have to get a car payment, all that stuff, and then commute, an hour and a half each way to work. It evens out. So I wanted to read a couple comments that you guys had left on the previous Rent Insanity episode that we made. It did so well, I figured we'd make, a part 2 or a part 3 to the series. And if you guys want to get featured in the next episode, definitely make sure to drop a comment down below. People keep saying, be a homeowner. But let's face it, everyone can't be owners. I think the question is why rentals are so expensive. I love this. It's so true. It's so true. And there's a right and a wrong way, and a really wrong way at that to be a homeowner, but it really depends on what your goals are. Like, what are your prerogatives? And we're going to talk about that later because, again, I was just having this conversation with a friend a couple of days ago, with several friends a couple of days ago here. And it just depends on what your goals are in life. What is your prerogative? And mine can be different than others. And there's no right and wrong answer to here. But if you're trying to achieve financial freedom, there is a rule book, a handbook that you have to follow if you want to do that. Then there is a right and a wrong way. Rent is going to always go up. That's why it's not, my forever plan to continue to rent. But renting has allowed me the ability to save up enough to now purchase a home. Without it, I couldn't. Sorry, it's just not possible to live at home with my parents and have the space and freedom and quietness and, my peace to do that. But there are some people that are comfortable with that if their house is big enough or their parents are, running around or they give you the space you need. It's certainly different, and we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Having apartments that cost like $2,000 a month should be fucking illegal, because why is it that they expect you to make 3 times the rent, which comes out to like $6,000, but most people don't even make that in an entire month?
True. An
apartment shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a basic need.
And everything is becoming like total BS. I'll give you an example. Just you'd always, my parents, everyone, you'd always hear about security deposit. You got first and last month's rent plus security. That's usually how it is. It's gotten so bad at my apartment complex, they want 3 times rent. So that means, like, imagine giving this apartment complex $6,000 up front. A, nobody has that. B, why the heck would I entrust you with that much freaking money that A, I'm not getting any interest on for the several years you have it? So, and they did it on purpose. It's to get you off of that and to get them. Now I have to pay I can either A, give them $6,000 to hold on to, which is ridiculous, or I could pay a $25 a month waiver that gets me out of the obligation of leaving a security deposit, but I am not insured and if anything goes wrong, if that makes sense. They'll still come after me if I leave the place a mess. Makes sense, but it's just another cash grab, petty cash grab that somehow they get away with. Florida has no laws here or rules with that stuff. What is it? Dealerships, car dealerships can charge whatever they want for service fees. It's about $1,300 here in a paperwork fee, a doc fee, to get a car in Florida at a dealership. Utter nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous. But even my parents growing up, they lived in Queens all their life. They had roommates for a very long time. They had roommates. And that's just kind of how the world works. Unfortunately, I don't know if there ever was a time where, at least in metro areas or popular areas, I'm not talking about out, in Kansas. But if you wanted to live on your own, you would have to buddy up. You would have to get a roommate and then split that 2-bedroom apartment, split that 3-bedroom apartment, turn that 1 bed into a 2-bed. That's how I think it always was. Am I wrong? Where are the boomers out there? Can you help me out? Rent will double every 10 years now. You better be a homeowner with a paid off house if you ever want to retire. And I think this is so true. That's why you can't keep renting forever, is because rent is going to consistently go up year over year. I understand interest rates. I understand insurance is going to go up. I understand taxes is going to go up. If you have a flexible interest rate, that's going to go up. But it will still, in the long run, be cheaper if you manage to get your house paid off. There will be so much more money. If your only responsibility is utilities, which is a service that you're paying for, and, the taxes that you pay on the insurance, which is optional if you pay off your house, but you probably should have it, you will free up so much more money, and you'll be able to instead be collecting so much money extra that you could then invest. And when you invest it, boom, oh my gosh, once you become a homeowner and have a paid off house, your net worth can skyrocket if you go through it. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now. An additional $1,000 a month I get to keep to invest, 12 grand over the year. And for some people, it's even more than that. If they're splitting really large apartments, they get a 2-bed, stuff like that. Most people are paying probably $2 grand, $2,500.
I pay $4,000 a month for my apartment in New York. I heard we're doing rent transparency, so let's talk about it. Also, I'm nosy. I would want to know whenever I see anyone else's apartment, I'm like, how much is their rent? Are they getting a better deal than me? What's the story? So here's what I get for $4,000. An unpopular opinion, I'm happy with it. Despite having no AC when I moved in, no heat control, no garbage disposal, let's have a window in the bathroom and washer and dryer. Someone told me something, they're like, if you're going to move to New York, you're always going to have to settle for something. And I don't like to settle. I will work hard till I can find what I can get. And then I was like, wait, no, they're right. There has to be one thing. So for me, I would say it's the fact that this is 5 stories up. I have to walk up 5 flights of stairs with no elevator to get to my apartment.
Urban
the price
living
does seem crazy when I think about it compared to my friends, especially my younger ones. But I've low-key been paying almost as much for an apartment since I was 19. I'm just used to it. I chose my career when I was 14 and have been grinding ever since. To me, it's worth it, but I could definitely see myself moving to a house one day, especially when I want to have kids and pets, because I could never do that with all the stairs.
Oh, you notice that she has a car too. See, that's where things get a bit, crazy here. That's what she was driving. We don't know if that's hers specifically or she's in a friend's car, but I'm going to assume now that that is her car that she's paying for. So then paying $4 grand on top of that, that is a lot of money. And to be living by yourself, yeah, I'm not saying you have to get into a relationship, but, to have a buddy, a friend to split with, that can make it, much more affordable. I mean, you can do this and just not save anything and be living paycheck to paycheck. And if that's what you're into, so be it. But, there's ways to, increase your wealth if that's your goal. It's my goal. So finding a way to lower rent, to lower your cost of living, the shelter, having a roommate would be a way to split those costs and make it a lot more affordable. Yeah, it's a lot, it's a pain in the butt living with roommates. I did it for several years in college and then off campus, but it is a great way to, save money and have more money to invest. Now, again, how much you make certainly is a big factor here. If she's making $400,000, $300,000 a year, hey, then what's $4K? It's a drop in the bucket. So be it. I worked extremely hard for a year and a half and bought myself a townhouse cash. Then I kept working extremely high and updated it. It wasn't easy, but now my only bills are utilities, food, gas, insurance, taxes. I have about $400 for all the utilities and phone, $100 gas, save $350 a month for house insurance and house taxes. Then I buy food, which varies. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling to not really have to care or have to check your bank account for certain amounts of money. This is the right way, guys. This is how you want to buy a house. If you can, and you can afford it and still have an emergency fund, buying it cash is certainly the way I would go. It's not easy. You have to grind it, but it's so much better on the other side. And the only bills are utilities, food, gas, insurance, and taxes. $400 for all utilities and phone. $100 for gas. Save $350 a month for house. It's very minimal. It's so cheap, and it's a great feeling to then be able to now have the freedom to do whatever it is you want with your money.
You're not going to believe how much they're increasing our rent. We just got the renewal letter. You guys, we live in a 426 square foot studio apartment in downtown Chicago. And our rent...
I already know, stopping her here, downtown Chicago. I can already tell it's going to be a fortune. If you're going to live in a city, Tampa, Miami, New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, expect rent to be high. You're living in an urban area that's very popular and a lot of people want to live there. You have to move out of it. I am constantly moving away and living in suburbs to avoid this.
Okay, this year was $2,108.
That's a lot for...
The previous year, it was $1,930. They want to increase it to $2,649. Wow. That's over $500 increase.
Oh my gosh.
I have no words. Like, where did they come up with this number? I mean, we had already made up our mind that we're not going to stay in the studio anyways. We are going to move and look for a new place. Hopefully starting next week, we're going to start touring apartments. But over $500 increase for a 426 square foot studio apartment. I think this is because a new company apparently bought the building because we have new owners now. Like, we got a letter, I don't know, a couple of months ago that they're taking over the building. So yeah, I think that's why the prices are increasing this much.
That's insane. That's insane. Talk about, where is rent stabilization? This is a conversation I've had with lots of different people. We talked about in the last episode. I've heard like people anti-rent stabilization and then they're for it. And then there's lotteries in New York City and the suburbs where in the boroughs for you to get, cheaper rent, which is crazy. And I don't know if it's come to that. I don't know if it's good or bad. Partly I would think it's okay, but I have friends that live in rent stabilized places in the Bronx, and the rent that he told me he's paying for like a 2-bed apartment, I mean, it is in the Bronx, but compared to what others are that move in, when they move out and they move in, it's like $3,000 or something for that. And he's paying, I think it's like $1,200, maybe $1,500. It's so marginal. It's such a tiny bit and it's insane. And the second they leave, boom, it goes back up. And it's funny too, because we talked about people like changing their houses, renovating it. And we said renovating your apartment complex, that you're paying rent on, is crazy. But for rent stabilized people, and I'm not used to this, they do it often. I mean, think about it. You move in the 90s, we're talking 30 years ago, it's going to be extremely outdated. So I know people that completely gut all the appliances, put in new stuff. Sometimes the apartment complex does that, but they will paint and change everything up because guess what? You're living in it for 30 plus years and it doesn't make sense to throw the rent away because you're paying so much under market. It's crazy. Anywho, right before making this video, I saw this post on Facebook. I thought we should talk about it. Found it quite useful. When should you buy a house? I agree with a lot of these. Some of these I haven't heard of. The first and foremost, your emergency fund is fully funded. This is 100% true. And I agree. We're going to talk about it right now. This is the right way, in my mind, to purchase a home, to become a homeowner, if your end goal and prerogative is to become financially free and wealthy. Because if it's not, and your only goal is to buy a house, then go take out a 30-year mortgage, put 3% down, have a massive payment, and struggle, and have a hard time, and possibly be house poor. But the goal was to get a house. Now you have it. So be it. For others, for me, that's not my prerogative. My goal is to become financially free. So there's a specific way you have to buy a house. Your emergency fund is fully funded. This is 100% true. You can't touch your emergency fund. That is not what it is for. It is not for saving up for a house. No. That is for emergencies. You lose your job. Just something crazy happens that you need that money. 4 to 6 months of your savings. 4 to 6 months of living expenses go into that account. You put at least 20% down. Why? You can avoid paying PMI and other silly things that just throw your money away, if that makes sense. This also reduces your overall, monthly payment, means you pay less interest in the long run. It's a way to reduce that. Your income is stable. Yeah, that's a good one. Or you have a lot of money in the bank. You will live there at least 5 years. So people question this one. And the reason I've heard 5 to 7 years is because once you buy that house, houses aren't guaranteed to go up. I've seen houses go down. It's happening right here in Cape Coral in Florida. Lots of house prices are going down quite a bit, especially with the boom that we just saw. But typically, for you to make your money back, it needs to take about 5 to 7 years for the house to appreciate, for you to break even or make money on what you bought. Because think about it. You don't just buy a house for what it is. You got to pay the realtors, closing costs, interest, all these other things that go into buying it, that if you then in a year sell it, you're going to take a substantial loss. And I know of friends that have tried and they were looking at taking, $50K losses. They don't have that money. That's insane. That's what you get when you start leveraging. You're using too big of money that you should not be holding or touching or be able to use. Or not even that you should be able to use. It's just you're playing with fire when you start using leverage. Annual rent that means more than 5% of home value. So this one is a bit confusing. And I guess that means if you could rent and rent costs more than 5% of the home value, then you should buy. So it's talking about which market is better. And then you have no high interest debt. So he's not saying you don't have debt. I think you shouldn't have any debt at all, to be honest with you. But if you don't have high interest, and I guess that would mean anything over probably I'd say 6%. 13% is insane. 20% is insane. 8, 7, that's a lot. But sub 6 is probably what he's referring to. And I would say no debt at all, and then you should consider it. But, everybody's circumstance is different. But in my opinion, that's how I would buy a house. I would even put more than 20%. They're saying at least 20%. And then my prerogative, especially with interest rates at 6.5%, you can't outbeat that. You probably just break even or lose money if you invested it in the stock market by dragging out your 30-year mortgage. I would put as much money as I can towards paying that off as fast as I can, if not buy a house out in cash, because you'd probably do that if you could, to be honest with you. I would do that. So that's my goal. Buy it outright, cash, or pay it off in less than 5 years. Throw as much money as I possibly can to it. Think about it. Every dollar you put towards your mortgage is a guaranteed savings of that interest rate, 6.5%. It's hard to find places that will guarantee you a 6.5% earning. But putting that money towards the principal of your mortgage is a guaranteed savings of 6.5%.
So how much rent can you realistically afford? I'm going to tell you about the 30% rule, and then I'm going to tell you how I like to calculate things. The rule of 30 says that your rent should not be more than 30% of your income. So let's say you make $100,000 gross after taxes, deductions. Let's say you bring home $80,000. 30% of $80,000.
Sorry, ma'am. I don't know in what world it's going to be left with $80K. $100K salary, you're going to lose about a third of it. So you're probably going to be left with $70. And then after everything else, insurance, 401k, you're probably looking at $60.
Is $24,000, and we're going to divide that by 12 months. So your rent should not be more than $2,000 a month. Now, I think about it a little bit differently. Let's say you take home $6,500 every single month. You're going to subtract an amount of money that you want to put aside and pay yourself. This money could be for your emergency fund, for paying off extra debt, for investing, whatever you want, but you need to set a money goal for yourself. And now you're going to split this into two. One of them is your fixed expenses, so things you cannot change, like your rent, and your variable expenses, things you can change, like shopping. Let's say you're a big homebody and you want to live in a really nice place, but you don't really care about clothes and you don't shop almost at all. So you can do a 70-30 split. But maybe you don't care about the place you live, but you like to go on vacations and you like to spend a lot of money on clothes. You can do a different type of split. My way is not as strict and you have to be more in tune with yourself, but I prefer it because we all have different values and we want different things of life. So just because somebody says your rent should not be over a certain percentage doesn't mean it can't be, especially if you don't overspend in other areas of your life.
I like it. It's not that bad, to be honest with you here. Certainly, everybody's situation is different. Everybody has different goals in life, and it's not a bad rule to follow. And you can even change that even more and say, well, instead of just putting $1,000 a month, because that's only $12K a year in savings, you could double it, $2,000. Try to do $2,000 a month, and then you have that variable and fixed that you could try to work on. So yeah, it's definitely very flexible, but I focus on trying to put as much money away as I can for saving. And then all that stuff comes afterward. And over time, the more savings you get that's invested, the more passive income you can generate from those earnings from what you've invested. And now you can slowly, gradually increase, what you spend your money on. That's my way of doing it. Instead of spending your here's what she lost that I'm going to add to. Instead of spending your hard-earned income on expenses and things you enjoy, what I like to do is take my earned income, invest earned income, spend the earnings, the interest that I've made off my passive investments on fun stuff. And obviously, you gotta leverage it. Of course, I spend some money of my earned income, and then I spend a little bit of my passive income earnings. But eventually, it's slowly you want to wean off earned and go more with passive. That is the way to win.
So I came across this. It says, this is the max rent you should be paying based upon your salary. Now, just so you guys know for reference, the average American makes about $49,000, which means your rent should be about $1,041. But here's the thing. The average of a one-bedroom apartment in the United States right now is $1,700. That's damn near a 70% increase, okay? Now, one thing I am happy about is that the feds are suing certain rent companies for hiking up prices and gouging renters. That's a good thing. But ultimately, the rent is just too damn high. I know in California, we have a ballot measure that talks about rent control. And people are saying, you don't want to have rent control because builders will be too shy to build. Man, forget that. We need rent control because the rent is too damn high. And what I can clearly see is that a lot of major companies are taking advantage of people, hiking up the rent and trying to squeeze people. And that's just not cool. Everybody should be able to make a profit in the United States. But gouging your fellow countrymen ain't right. That's not cool. So I'm hoping that this bill in California passes and we can get some rental relief for people that need it in terms of capping what they can go up to after your lease is done. Because I think about my mom who just lost her husband of 46 years. If I and my brother wasn't there, my mom would be looking at this price and she can't afford that.
So here's the thing. And I understand it definitely affects a lot of people. And at that age, you would hope to have a house. Like we just saw that with that other comment. Your mom, grandparents should hopefully by then have a retirement and have their house paid off, not have to worry about that stuff. But what typically you see is rent for like a one bed or a studio is $1,700, but a two bed is $2,000, $2,200. A three bed is $3,000. So you could then split a three bed. I mean, there's three beds here that are like $2,600. You split that three ways. I don't know, with 8, 16, 24. It's like $850 per person. Boom. You have to live with people, but now you made rent affordable. I'd say on average, it's probably, if you're spending around $1,000, it's probably a comfortable place that I'm at where I would attribute to spending for rent, to be honest with you. Like I try not to spend more than that. I think I might spend though $1,200, and that's just for the roof over my head. And I also pay for an office. It's not just a room; it's a room and an office. So I have a little bit more space to work. This is where I work. It's a little different for me, but I would think roughly about $1,000 or less is a good goal to shoot for I'd say a lot of people. I have a mortgage. My property taxes tripled. Property and car insurance increased. I only have non-negotiable bills. No streaming subscriptions, no credit cards. Food is last on my priority list. When will the insanity end? We need a reset. See, this is the problem. If people go into buying a house just to purchase a house and they don't do it the right way, you get screwed. Prices, the monthly payment you owe for a house goes up. People don't realize that. And you can become house poor very quickly. Things start to break. It's like allowing people that don't have a lot of money to now, they're driving around in a Honda Civic, but I'm going to give you a loan to now take on ownership of a Rolls Royce, and the expenses and home ownership and the things that come along with being an owner of a Rolls Royce. It's going to make a lot of people broke because when that car needs brakes, $7,000. You can't afford it. But here is a bank giving you the opportunity to own it. Owning something, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know what I'm saying? So there's a right and a wrong way to home ownership too, because people can become house poor and foreclose very quickly. I don't want to live like that. This is the houses now. I mean, it looks nice. It really does look nice, but that's what houses are becoming now. And that is a conjoined townhome probably with 13 different neighbors. And that house is probably 700 grand. Every new apartment complex now that's being built is considered a luxury apartment complex. Why not just make an apartment complex? I don't need all the luxuries. I don't care. I don't need all the amenities and shit. I would rather just pay $1,000 a month. I don't need all the luxuries. Stop calling it luxury, because then this is considered what I'm living in a luxury apartment, except it's cheap junk put together with janky, junky stuff. I mean, the cabinets are made out of particle board. That's not a luxury. So it's fake. It's not real. Just make a normal apartment complex. Stop building it with the intention of calling it luxury and then charging thousands of more. If you're telling me it's luxury, then that means you can build one that's not and charge less. That's what I'm saying.
It sucks, but people are really drowning right now. Looking at the comments for my video about rent prices was like honestly depressing. You know, it's so many people out there that are in these situations, these circumstances where they can't afford their rent. Like some of the prices that people were saying for the square footage that they were getting is insane. And I think this tells us one thing.
Location.
Lot of people are struggling financially.
Location.
And let this be a reminder that you should take what you see on social media with a grain of salt. Somebody just got a new car, they, going on vacations. It's not to say that people can't afford to do these things right now, but just take it with a grain of salt, because most likely they're struggling, they're drowning too. I've even seen people comment down below saying like, oh, should we still be paying 50-50? Should it be the man 100%? And hey, I may tell you a joke, but I'll never tell you a lie, man. Two incomes is more than one, especially during these times. Comment down below what your rent prices are in your city, because people need to see that this is all over. It's not just where you're at. And most importantly, God bless.
You know what's even more insane than the crazy rent that's going up right now? The fact that more than 70% of you guys that watch these videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. Let me let you in on a little secret. Unlike rent, subscribing to the channel doesn't cost anything, and there's no unexpected yearly increases in price unless you get YouTube Premium, and I don't recommend that. So do me a favor, just tap that subscribe button down below. All it does is let me know that you guys like to see videos like this and that I should keep making more videos like this. As a single person, I have never thought about buying a house with a roommate. Yeah, that's crazy, but it is possible. I make enough to afford a mortgage, but the house costs are too high. And watching this video, y'all basically saying is either get a new job or somehow obtain significant amount of money to afford a house. Yeah, I don't know if houses were ever affordable to everyone and anyone to purchase it. It is certainly an expensive purchase, and it's going to take several years to catch up. I think now the homeowner, like the average age of a homeowner is like 41 years old, and it's because they inherit their parents' house. That's how they're doing it. So, yes, it's certainly difficult, and you have to save up a lot of money, or you have to live somewhere really, really, really far away in the middle of nowhere, or you have to buy a junky house and then slowly rebuild it. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, but it's certainly, I think, becoming a lot harder because wages have stagnated here and housing prices have just exploded. So it is significantly harder than how it used to be.
So why do I live in my car full time? Well, because rent is $1,800 per month for a one-bedroom apartment. I work full time and I can't afford that. Wow. So I live here in my car. I'm going to give you a tour. So we're going to start over here, and I'm actually going live on TikTok right now. So come in, say hi, ask me any questions you might have. The bed itself is a super comfortable 3-inch memory foam mattress topper. I got my 2 pillows over here. I got my bookshelf. Underneath there is where I keep all my clothing. I'm going to show you the other side in a second. I have 2 USB-C rechargeable fans that help keep me cool, especially right now in this summer heat that we're having. We're having a heat wave, a little bit of a heat wave going on. And down there is where I keep my laundry detergent, extra shoes. I have a mini little broom and dustpan. So coming around the other side, there's the controversial Yeti cooler that I'm told I'm not supposed to have because I live in my car, even though it was a gift. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think about that.
Why wouldn't you?
Over here, this is where I keep my clothes under here. They're in backpacks and other storage bins that I keep in here. And it's just kind of like my closet, a mix mash of stuff. But if you want to see more, come in and join the live, say hi, and let me know where you're coming in from. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.
You got to do what you got to do. I support him. It sucks. Think about how much money he's saving. Probably like $22,000, $2,200 a month. I mean, that's like what? 25 grand? Do that for 4 years. You saved up $100,000. You can afford a very large down payment on a house. Do it for a little more and you got an emergency fund. I know it sucks, but it really don't sound all that bad. Especially, you know, I've even thought about this as an idea. With the amount of apartment complexes that are here in Florida, you could theoretically live in your car and just go bunk up in the parking lots of one of these apartment complexes past the gates if you can sneak in. The only one downside is you have to figure out the air conditioning because that's what's going to screw you. But if you can get that, maybe a solar panel on the roof of your car with a solar generator inside and then an AC, you could save thousands of dollars. That's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Hopefully you liked today's episode. Definitely make sure to smash the like button, turn on post notifications, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you haven't seen the first video I made about how rent is insane, highly recommend you check that out right after this. Peace.